If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Resetting hour 2 here. Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network, Sirius XM channel 158. He's JVT. I'm Stormy Buonantony. Producer Brian Ortega at the commands today. And you guys don't know what I deal with in our commercial breaks on this program.
The smelly smell that smells smelly.
What?
Is the smell of Stormy just getting absolutely roasted behind the scenes here today.
Oh my! It's cruel, actually, how mean you all are being to me today. I didn't do anything wrong.
That's part of the problem. You didn't do anything. Yeah?
Stop it!
Now. Like, we got a show.
That's not true. Okay, you said I'm checked. I'm not checked out. I'm distracted. I got a lot going on right now. I also got bit by a spider this morning, so that's impacting my mood a little bit. And for anyone who missed it earlier, I am going on a trip soon, and I've been having this ongoing back and forth with Delta because my flights that I booked in January have gotten moved all of a sudden to where my husband and I are not only not sitting together, but we're sitting in different rows, and I'm in like a middle seat in a row of 4, and I don't know what's happened, and I'm not thrilled about it.
These are all relatable. Continue.
Listen, you've never been on a flight that got moved and your seat, you got stuck between stranger dangers that could be stinky?
No. Wow, the assumption that they're not going to smell.
You're the one that has said that throughout the commercial, so let's not just fully throw it on me.
I mean, hopefully hopefully everything goes well for you, and hopefully this trip is going to go well. I'm just
struggling.
And hopefully you don't struggle when we make our trip to Omaha next month.
You see, that's another thing that you keep on giving me digs for, that you're saying one trip is taking priority over the other. One's just in a couple months down the road, and we're on Southwest for that one, so it's pick your own seat. And I already know I'm A-list, so I'll be in a good position there. But that is a good note for anybody who didn't know.
There we go.
This show, as well as Follow the Money, we are all going to Omaha, June 12th through the 14th. We're going to be broadcasting live from Rocco's. And if you don't know what that bar is, it is the mecca of College World Series Jell-O shots. So you remember, like a couple years ago, LSU really made it famous because they had like 37,000 some Jell-O shots from their fans. But it's a great sports bar. There's going to be so many College World Series team fans out there. It's going to be a blast. We had Matt Grissom on the show earlier this week, kind of breaking down the conference tournaments. SEC got underway today. SEC yesterday, ACC today. So lots of action as we get set for the College World Series. It's going to be so fun.
Yes, I am very excited for it. I've been watching a little bit of baseball this morning, too, because we do have these games that are underway, some of them already in the books. So I'm looking forward to being in an environment I've never been to. I'm not as well traveled as some. I don't get to just jet set off to Italy, for example, and take time off of a show that was just put together like a newborn child. So I'm very much looking forward to going somewhere.
You're plotting your time off for July.
That I've never been to before. So.
It'll be fun. Omaha's great. I'm mad I didn't look it up. There's a really good ice cream shop there that's next to the ballpark that we have to go to.
We're going on a limb that we have time to look it up.
We will make it happen.
Yeah,
I'll figure it out.
I think we have time to look it up.
I just got to look up one thing at a time. By the way, also, last segment when we had Shane Knighty on the program, we were talking about the NHL postseason. We will get more into that a little bit later. We've got best bets at the end of the program. We got VSiN's own managing editor, Adam Burke, who's going to join the show. We'll get into plenty of Major League Baseball. But in reaction real quickly to his last comment about Brad Marchand, when it comes to Conn Smythe being an option, that price 35-1 for him in that market. Sergei Bobrovsky, your fourth shot on the board at 9-1. He just likes this Panthers team. And I was looking specifically at Marchand tonight. To have a point is plus 115, but specifically an assist is plus 200. Bet $100, win 200. 9 of his 12 points so far in the postseason have been helpers.
Can I ask you a question about the Conn Smythe really quickly?
Sure.
It is a postseason award for the MVP throughout the course of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Do the voters vote like that, though? In other words, like we always have these awards, most valuable player, whatever it is. I tend to think that sometimes voters get those wrong with the way that they vote for them. Do you see consistency when it comes to the history of the Conn Smythe? Or is it more like, Now, the guy that plays well in the Stanley Cup Finals probably
No,
doesn't get it.
More often than not, I do think that they get it right.
Okay.
It's going to come from a team that obviously makes it all the way.
Correct.
But, I think last year's a great example of Connor McDavid winning despite the Oilers not winning the series.
Sure. Okay.
So, yes, I think they do get it right. A couple years ago, Jonathan Marchessault winning Conn Smythe for Vegas. He's not the big, flashy name, but he was scoring not only a lot of goals, but timely goals. And I think impact plays a big role in that, too. So, yes, I do think largely they get it right more often than not. Right. Let's get into a little news here real quickly, because I know we do have a lot of baseball, but we didn't get a chance to touch on this earlier in hour one. How about Fred Warner signing a new deal? Highest paid off-ball linebacker in football for the second time in his career. 3-year, $63 million extension. Jumps from $19 to $21 million in average annual value. And this is just another kind of the latest in the 49ers trying to lock up some of their bigger name players.
Yeah. What I'm going to be interested in is Warner's like one of those guys that is paid and generally respected like one of the best defensive players in the National Football League, and rightfully so. But I don't think he's got a shot at winning like a Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, 75-1 the price on that.
Yeah, and it's just the way that these voters look at the award. Warner's not going to compile the flashy stats. Interceptions, sacks, tackles for losses. It's not generally going to be pretty explosive or sexy on paper. So that's always the interesting part, is I think I can always make a very strong case like a guy like Warner could win the award. He is arguably the best defensive player in the National Football League, but he's never going to come close to winning it. And that's why I always feel like, again, going back to what we talked about with Conn Smythe, there's so many complaints about the way voters look at things, and this is one of them. For example, like for Rookie of the Year, right? Offensive Rookie of the Year. There should be offensive linemen who have won that award, but were they ever going to do it? And I think Warner's just another great example of that. So good for him. Good for the 49ers kind of checking these boxes, like you said, to get all these guys locked up, even if they're overrated like Brock Purdy. But either way,
You're the worst.
You're locking dudes up. Hopefully you're healthy. You have an easy schedule, and you look like one of those teams that could be pretty dominant from a regular season standpoint.
I don't know if anyone in the history of history has said Brock Purdy overrated. First team All-Pro the last 3 years for Fred Warner, second most tackles in franchise history, led the team in tackles every year that he's been with the team. But to your point about getting these deals done, I think for an organization that the last couple years has had issues with guys in training camp, whether it be Bosa, Deebo Samuel, Trent Williams, the Brandon Ayuk saga went on for far too long. For them to get all of these done, and it's not even Memorial Day yet, I think is a big deal for them, especially coming off of last season. We dove into their schedule last week, one of the easiest schedules in the NFL for 2025. If they're healthy, I don't see why they're not a playoff team again this year. I'm not putting them on par already with the Eagles or Lions in May, but I don't see why they couldn't be an 11-win team. Win total 10.5. They're plus 145 to win the division, 10-1 in the NFC, 20-1 in the Super Bowl. Yes, they have some questions, but I think they should get it back together this year if they stay healthy.
Yeah, look, the market's rating them like that. So if you want to, we'll have more on this a little bit later. Go to VSiN.com. I put up the NFL Market Power Rating article that we had discussed last week when it talks about just the market power ratings in general. They're being, if you look at it, they're being priced like the 83 line is where I put it. So they are right in line with the Packers, the Commanders, which is pretty crazy, the Bengals, the Rams, a point behind the Lions, 2 points behind the Chiefs or so. So I think it's probably a fair area to put them. And then you factor in the really easy schedules we've discussed. I do think that they're a team that is a candidate, if they're going to remain healthy, to potentially play in some of these number one overall seed markets, most wins potentially as well. Again, wins are never really a strong indicator of how good you really are, but they do have one of the easier schedules, and they're a well-coached team that generally finds their level, and I think that they could exceed that here this year too.
Yeah, still need to see how Brandon Ayuk's going to come back from that injury. Need to get more out of Juwan Jennings as well, with especially Deebo Samuel out the door now. But I think this team has all the makings of a bounce back. On the MLB card today, we got a 15-game slate. I know we'll dive deeper into this with Adam Burke, but any games that you want to hit on real quickly that stood out to you on the card?
I mean, I think there's a lot of actually really good matchups. One of the sexier ones in the American League, Pat Corbin versus Will Warren today. Rangers and Yankees. Very excited for this. First off, because, of course, played the Rangers to win the American League West, so I'm always going to be interested in what they have to offer. Also interested because the Yankees opened up as $1.80 favorites on the overnight. Now they're upwards of minus 205 to win this game, despite the fact that, and I have tried to go against him and failed, so it's going to be interesting to see if this, I tried to back him and it has failed, and I'm going to be interested to see if this finally shows up against a Rangers lineup that has not been particularly great. But Will Warren, 4.61 ERA, 3.24 fielding independent. You can make the case that there are some positive signs coming for him, and he gets to take on a Rangers lineup which has yet to really get out of the doldrums, as we have seen. over the course of this weekend series against the Astros and just extending further out. The other part about this is Patrick Corbin, 3.35 ERA, but a 4.74 fielding independent would tell you that he is due to regress at some point. And you know who might be able to get that regression to come? One of the best lineups in Major League Baseball, hitting at home in the New York Yankees. So I really agree with the market move here, pushing this up to minus 205. If you wanted to go first 5 minus the half run, I think that's also something worth noting here too. I think there's a lot of signs that point to the Yankees here today against my Rangers, unfortunately.
Okay, let's stick in that region real quickly. Mets Red Sox going head-to-head as well. Walker Buehler on the hill for Boston as they try to get 2 in a row against New York, plus 114 home dogs. Clay Holmes on the hill for New York. Run total in that one, 8.5.
Yeah, but the Red Sox yesterday getting Kodai Senga, at least doing enough. I know. And Senga pitched relatively well, but you got to get a little run support, and they did not get it. Obviously, what's going to be at stake here, or what's going to be interesting, is the pitching. To me, there's no real thing to point to that you're jumping on. These guys both, Holmes and Buehler, what you see is what you get. 3.14 ERA for Holmes with a 3.10 fielding independent. Buehler, meanwhile, 4.28, 4.29 split there. So it's exactly in line with what you're looking at. So I think they're being priced relatively well. I think there's a case to be made that potentially, just with the way the Red Sox can hit, Devers is having a relatively good stretch here, that maybe you're going to look at the Red Sox being a tad bit undervalued coming back at home. I think the current number right now, what do we have to minus 130? See about a 10-cent bump in favor of New York. I thought this was priced pretty accurately. I didn't really feel anything strong. But also worth noting that the 9 has now shifted to 8.5, so a little bit of money to the under.
Last 30 seconds, Spencer Strider making his season debut with the Braves against the Nationals today. Minus 185, the price backing him too. Yeah,
I made the case today with Dave and Jensen. Not this game specifically, but this is pretty big because Atlanta, again, they're pushing their way potentially into the playoff picture. But I'm of the belief that you can't start 0-7 or 0-8 and make it into a postseason where in an NL which looks rife with talent and parity. So this is pretty big that Strider's coming back. Maybe, and I don't think it would be crazy, the Braves can prove me wrong here, but Strider coming back is obviously a very big step toward them getting back into the postseason.
Yeah, Acuna potentially this weekend as well. Good conversation, I think, when Adam does join the program. You hear that music, that means we got to step aside. When we come back, this week's edition of Hell Yeah, Brother. Stick around. Plenty of different sports and topics we're going to dive into next.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Money Moves back here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, live from downtown at Circa Las Vegas, where this summer you can go all in at Circa with the ultimate getaway package is $400. You get a 2-night stay here on property, $100 dining credit, a $100 beverage credit, and your very own day bed at Stadium Swim, where the party never stops. All for, again, just $400. That's including the resort fees and taxes, everything. No add-ons here, just the stay, the dining credit, the beverage credit. May 26th through September 1st, limited time offer, but lock in your all-in summer package right now at circalasvegas.com. We're rolling along here. Time for our second week in a row edition of Hell Yeah, Brother, where we're throwing out some topics, some different bets at each other, see if we are in agreement or disagreement. Disagreements, no for me, dog. If we agree, it's a Hell Yeah, Brother. Where do you want to start?
I would give you the floor. I think that you have an interesting one involving a team at the top of the NFC.
So I contemplated putting this in Call Me Crazy yesterday. And it's just the general concept that I feel like whether it's the betting market or we as fans are forgetting for some of these young quarterbacks that have incredible seasons, sophomore slumps do happen. And the Commanders could very easily, going into 2025, be last year's Texans, and what we saw with C.J. Stroud, who had this historic rookie year, offensive rookie of the year, takes a step back and different things happen. And so looking through the Commanders, I mean, Jaden Daniels, yes, obviously had one of the best rookie seasons in the history of the NFL, regardless of position, wins rookie of the year, takes the Commanders, who have had decades of just being a poverty franchise, to the NFC Championship. But now They have a full season of tape on Jaden Daniels. The schedule goes from a middling to easy schedule to now the 8th hardest in the league. They have 7 standalone games, 5 in primetime, so the pressure of that ties the most in franchise history. 10 that are considered national windows, and look how he's being priced, too. He's the 5th shot on the board for MVP.
Yep.
He's only behind Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Mahomes. They are, as a team, 6th on the board to win the Super Bowl, 4th on the board for a number 1 seed. Are we not getting a little out of hand here on the Washington Commanders and Jaden Daniels?
I would give you a hell yeah, brother. I would completely agree, because here's the thing, too. You go up to the website, VSiN.com, and bring up the article that I talked about with the market power ratings. They're being priced among the better playoff teams in the National Football League. They're being power rated as equals to the 49ers, Bengals, Rams, Packers, just a point behind teams like the Lions, for example. And again, look, you could say, well, they went to Detroit and beat the Lions. Yeah, you're right. But guess what? In that game, they were 8-point underdogs. Mm-hmm. And now they're being priced as a team that is right behind them. And I'm glad you brought up the most important point. It is mirror images of last year with the Houston Texans. Preseason, C.J. Stroud was the co-favorite to win MVP at plus 850 with Lamar Jackson going into the year. Again, shorter odds for Jaden Daniels now to win that award at a couple of spots, too. I generally agree with the premise that this is going to be a very good team, but it seems on the surface that the market is like really in on the Washington Commanders, much like they were really in on the Houston Texans. And they could still have a good year. They could still make the playoffs. The Texans did last year, too. Hell, I think the Texans should have beat the Chiefs in that playoff game. But in terms of where they're priced, I think this is a team that is going to be a little inflated as we head into next year, and I'll be looking forward to take my shots against them.
And also, remember a couple years ago when the Minnesota Vikings were winning all of these close games, and you're like, hey, listen, regression's due to come. Looking at the Commanders' schedule last year, 12-5 in the regular season, do you remember how many double-digit and fourth-quarter comebacks that they mounted? I was just going through their schedule, too. 10 of their games last year, win or lose, were decided by 7 or fewer points. They won 8 of them. Yep. Like, are we sure that that's going to happen again this year, too? So just big picture, I would just say be a little bit more wary about the way that the Washington Commanders are priced. What's next for you?
So it's a similar thought process here, a little NFL, but talking about some of these overvalued teams. Look, I think that we should probably open up the season trying to fade the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a team that I think is also being overvalued. Again, they are being priced, by the way, that Aaron Rodgers is going to be the starting quarterback. There's no question about that when you look at the way that this market is setting up. Maybe they could be, but again, as we discussed the other day, we don't know that right now. And right now, he's a free agent. Right now, he is not on this team. And yet, if you're betting into Steelers markets, you're betting on the fact that he's going to be there. But let's even say that he's there. Right now, Stormy, they're being priced as near equals to teams like the Broncos, the Buccaneers, the Vikings. Only 2 points behind teams that we're talking about here, the 49ers, the Bengals, the Rams. I think that this team is being very overvalued. You know, we talked about the first NFL bet that I had made already, taking 3 with the Jets, because I think those are two things kind of working with each other. I think the Steelers are being overvalued. I think the Jets are being undervalued. But I'm willing to go against the Steelers if this is the way that they're going to get priced to start the year. Being 3-point favorites on the road against the New York Jets, you could foresee a scenario against the Seahawks where they're an overinflated favorite there. You know how much I like the Patriots going on the road in a tricky spot there, too. I think there's a very good opportunity to play against this team with some frequency before their bye week.
I'd say hell yeah, brother, when it comes to the spreads. But what I would also say is, based on where this season win total is at 8.5 and how easy the start of their schedule is compared to the back end of the schedule, that maybe they could stockpile some wins, at least from a straight up standpoint, win a handful of games, and then you get an inflated season win total number and can buy back on the under at a later date.
I mean, I think they're overvalued to the point where I wouldn't be shocked if they started 0-3.
Really?
Yeah, like I think that we are underselling how bad the back end of that defense was in terms of their defensive backfield. Front is great. I think the defensive backfield had some issues last year. I don't know how much better they're going to be heading into this year. Again, Aaron Rodgers was fine last year, to the point where the narrative around him, it's like, you know, you turn right too many times and all of a sudden you're going left, right? Like, we came way too far in the other direction where he was an average quarterback. But he was just that, a very average quarterback. And there is a reality that an older quarterback who was average last year takes another step back and starts to become a below average quarterback, even if, again, he is their quarterback. And what if we're in the reality that he's not? I think that's something that you should consider. There's crazier things have happened than a team banking on a guy to sign with you. And again, I would say it is May 20th. What is stopping this marriage from happening at this point right now? Other than maybe he doesn't want to do training camp. But then again, that doesn't make much sense, because what's he going to do? Come in before the season starts?
Especially with a new organization and a new team. So I'm very flummoxed on the Aaron Rodgers
This
of it
is,
all.
you heard it here first. Give me the hell yeah, brother, because it's over. He's not going to have a winning record this year. It's done.
Okay.
The Steelers will have a losing record.
We'll see. Well, we've got plenty of time to discuss the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Tomlin of it all. I'm actually going to go to college football for this next one. We teased it a little bit earlier. Joel Klatt of Fox Sports put out his top 10 quarterbacks in college football for 2025. Drawn a lot of discussion, especially because Cade Klubnik was his number one. Something that I like to say, and you can feel free to disagree with this in general, but when it comes to the Heisman Trophy market, it's double digits or nothing for me when I'm betting into this, especially because of the volatility that you have in the market. There's going to be a lot of opportunities throughout the course of the season to get good numbers on different guys. One guy pre-flop that I really do like, though, is Lenoris Sellers at 20-1. Going through, and maybe I end up being a year too early on this kid, but watching what he was able to do the back end of last season, quarterback for South Carolina, putting the team on his back, put them in a position where they almost made the college football playoff, probably should not have been the odd man out if situations were different. The body type, the traits that he has, 6'3", 240, he's got the dual threat ability, he draws comps to Cam Newton, but without the attitude, right? Second half of last year just really, really made a good impression on me. And looking at South Carolina's schedule this year, it is a little bit more difficult, but pretty manageable the front half of the season. And with a defense, once you get to those harder games that isn't the best, he's probably going to have more on his shoulders to try to outscore teams, which I think creates some opportunity for a guy like him. So what do you think?
Yeah.
Lenoris Sellers, 20-1.
Hell yeah, man. Or hell yeah, brother. I would agree with the most part of trying to look at him do this. I think the quibble I would have is he going to improve as a passer? But you did mention the late season stretch that he had. If you look from week 10 on, he was very solid. 13 touchdowns to 3 interceptions over the last 6 games. 77 PFF passing grade. Overall offensively, a grade of 80.5. We know what he can do on the ground. He limited the turnover-worthy plays for the most part. I think that's my biggest issue.
Yeah.
He does tend to put the ball in danger. Will that end? But again, this is college football, right? Assuming improvement for some of these guys is part of the game. Why would I not assume some sort of improvement for a guy that has the skill set to be pretty good? I would generally agree with that premise as well. So, yeah, I would be down with this. I think also, we'll get into this as we get closer, but guys like him or DJ Lagway are going to be very attractive to potentially bet as these mid shots to win the Heisman.
Well, and he's to your point, though, about getting better, he's still a younger guy. He was still one of 4 Power 4 quarterbacks last year to pass for more than 2,500 yards and run for 600 yards. He's untackleable in a lot of ways when he gets out of the pocket. But another important distinction, I think, for the Heisman Trophy is that you don't necessarily have to be a contender to win the national championship for your guy to win this award too. So I'm not necessarily saying, South Carolina, I think all in is going to be one of the final 4 standing at the end, but I think they could be a playoff team, and I think that he could lead the way for them.
That's the question: is are they going to win 9 plus games? And obviously 9 is the very low watermark. We saw Jaden Daniels do it a couple of years ago. So you want it around 10, and we'll see. I mean, I would assume that you think South Carolina is capable of meeting that mark.
I do, yes, 100%. We've only got about 30 seconds left here. Do you have any opinion on these NFL, whether it be the tush push or the Lions submitted proposal about playoff seeding, either one of those that really drew your attention?
Yeah, I like the playoff seeding, and I think you're a wimp and a coward if you want the tush push to get banned. Yes, it's our producer, Brian Ortega, as he gets in my ear.
Well, the Packers submitted that, so that's why he feels that way.
Stop. If you don't like it, stop it. It's the same thing with the overtime rules, man. Just come on.
See, but we disagree on the overtime rules. I like the idea of both offenses getting an opportunity to possess the ball.
I have evidence that points to my case when it comes to the evidence, or at least in the overtime.
Well, fortunately for us, we've got a full summer where we can get into those topics. For now, we're going to take a timeout. Adam Burke joins us coming up after this. Actionable games coming up today next.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Final 30 minutes back here on Money Moves with Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Stormy Buonantony, and Adam Burke is going to join us on the desk here for the duration of the program. Managing editor here at VSiN.com. We'll get into some Major League Baseball, all of the ongoings on the website right now, best bets at the end of the hour. What's going on?
You said Adam Burke's going to join us for the duration of the show, and JVT just goes,
Okay.
I'm like, wait a minute.
Well, I think.
What did I do here?
No. I think what's happening is that was actually a sigh of approval. Stormy, I don't think is very happy with me today. So I think it's good to have a buffer here at the desk, although a buffer generally is between the two feuding parties, and that is not the case.
Not ideal.
Yeah.
I guess we could switch for the next segment if we really have to.
I think that would make things better. Actually, what I was saying about JVT earlier, it's funny that you make that comment about his scoff or noise or whatever you want to call that I have noticed today when I'm trying to do something, JVT will just give me this look, some smirk, and it might be serious, it might be sarcasm. It's almost always sarcasm, but it derails everything that I'm going to do from then on. So I'm really got to work on that. No eye contact for JVT anymore.
Okay.
See, he just did one just now, and I looked away.
I didn't do anything.
Looked away. Not doing it.
I mean,
well, that is the one thing. Like, you have to learn about JVT's sarcasm.
We're new. We're only 2 weeks in.
I know.
So I'm figuring things out as we go here.
But he's, I think it's his best weapon.
There we go.
Sarcasm.
See, some people don't like it. And to those people, I say, screw you.
I was looking at your daily MLB article that you have up on the website right now at VSiN.com. And while I have been highlighting all day, we've got a 15-game slate. You very astutely pointed out off the top here that it's more like a 15.55 game slate today.
Yeah, allegedly. I mean, we'll see. You know, they were talking about this a ton on the broadcast yesterday. Frankly, I don't even know why they started yesterday's Guardians-Twins game. It had no chance. Yep. So I think they were just trying to get as much into it as they possibly could because it's supposed to rain today and rain tomorrow. So we'll see. But, I mean, this is going to be one of those things where they may end up playing a couple of double headers, a game and a half, something like that at some point later on in the year. So we'll see. I mean, honestly, the way the Guardians are playing right now, I don't really care if they get rained out because it's probably for the best.
All right, so what about this Twins run that they have been on? It did get ended recently, but is this legit? I mean, there was a time where it looked like the Twins might be in competition for one of the worst teams in baseball.
I mean, look, I don't think that any of these teams that have kind of gone on runs here have been legit. I know you guys were talking about the Cardinals early on in the show.
Outside of the Angels, of course.
I don't believe in them either. I mean, this lineup is just not very good to me with Minnesota. You know, I mean, obviously the pitching staff is really good. I mean, I certainly don't expect Chris Paddock to continue on the route that he's on, although if he does get to pitch tonight against Cleveland hasn't hit a changeup since the Clinton administration, so Paddock's probably going to be okay in that start. But, I mean, Joe Ryan's good. Pablo Lopez is good. You know, they bring up Zebby Matthews now, who is one of their most promising young arms. The rotation's very good for this team, and the bullpen is passable, I think, as long as Griffin Jackson and Yohan Duran stay healthy. But the lineup still doesn't impress me. And, again, Byron Buxton's hurt yet again. Wasn't really his fault this time. It was a concussion. Royce Lewis is going to get hurt again at some point. I'm not a believer in the Twins at all.
What do you think Patrick Corbin's Little League ERA was during the Clinton administration?
I don't know, but did you take, for those who don't know, I'll have to bring this up again here, although the numbers have changed, right? Because Corbin made a start since we talked about this. But so Patrick Corbin is a really good pitcher when Trump is in the Oval Office and a really bad pitcher when Barack Obama or Joe Biden are in the Oval Office. Corbin, I don't know what he did in his last start, but he went into his last start with an ERA under 3 during Trump's second term, had a 3.59 ERA during Trump's first term. Did you take him today against the Yankees?
No, actually, I think it's a spot. That's why I wanted to bring him up and ask you about it. I think it's a spot to go against him. He was pretty average in his last start against the Rockies. 6 innings, 3 earned runs, got taken deep twice. That was in Texas. But there are the signs in his underlying metrics that there's like some regression coming. And on the other side, you get Warren, who I actually think has some buy signs on him. Yeah. I think these two things kind of meeting in the middle would mean that I'm going to bet the Yankees today, lay a half run in the first 5. Market would agree because we saw a 27 bump toward the Yankees in the overnight. So actually, I think it's a fade Corbin spot today.
Yeah, I can't hate on that. And I thought about doing that too. I mean, Will Warren's a guy that, while he's got the 4.61 ERA, as you mentioned, 3.24 FIP for him, really, really good strikeout rate, keeps the ball in the park. Those are two extremely valuable things when you're pitching at Yankee Stadium. And Corbin, I mean, what have we seen over the last few years that would suggest that anything is sustainable for him? Really low strikeout rate, so he's not going to sustain the 86.5% left on base percentage. ERA in the 3.30s, that's not sticking around for long. You're right. This is the type of matchup here at Yankee Stadium with some really good right-handed pop. It's good left-handed pop, too. This is the type of situation where you would expect Corbin to have one of those blow-ups, and I won't be shocked if it does happen here. So whether it's Yankees, on the run line for the first 5, Yankees team total over for the first 5, something like that, I think those are very viable options here today.
I can't say that I know the presidential administration numbers for Jameson Taillon, but I do know that the numbers haven't been great lately. He's a -142 favorite on the hill for the Cubs today. They dropped game 1 of this set in Miami against the Marlins yesterday in a high-scoring 8-7 game. Run total today, 8.5. Ryan Weathers starting for Miami. Anything stand out to you here?
So I am a big Ryan Weathers guy. He's a guy I wrote about in my Marlins season preview prior to the season. I think I talked about this last week on the show, too. His strikeout prop last week was 3.5. This week it's 4.5. So the market has made a bit of an adjustment here after he struck out 5 guys in 5 innings in that start against the Cubs. But Jameson Taillon's given up 7 home runs in his last 2 starts. The command profile is starting to wane a little bit. 13.2% barrel rate, hard hit percentage over 42%. Doesn't really miss a ton of bats. Last 4 starts, hard hit percentage of 48%. So the command is just not particularly good right now. While I don't really love a whole lot of things about the Marlins offense, there are some guys that are hitting for some power. They do have a barrel rate around 9% this year. So they've actually done a pretty good job of punishing mistakes. Taillon's throwing a lot of mistakes up there right now. So I think the Marlins are worth a shot here tonight. Also, you look at the Cubs bullpen situation. Porter Hodge just hit the injured list. He's got an oblique issue. Ryan Presley, his underlying metrics don't look great. His stuff quality is really going down. He's worked back-to-back days. Same thing for Drew Pomerantz, who they picked up off the scrap heap prior to this season. The Cubs bullpen has some issues right now. So I went ahead and took the Marlins for the full game. And I also like Ryan Weathers over 4.5 strikeouts here. At home, in the climate-controlled environment, should help his velocity tick up a little bit. He sat over 97 with the fastball last time out, getting a lot of swings and misses with his upgraded arsenal. He's just a guy who can't stay healthy. But when he's healthy, I think he has extreme potential. So Marlins plus the 120 and Weathers over 4.5 strikeouts.
All right, what about an interleague matchup? Yesterday, pretty interesting spot. Boston gets to Kodai Senga a little bit, ends up getting that game. And now, in the second game of that set, Walker Buehler versus Clay Holmes. What are we doing here?
Yeah, so I'm always really skeptical of guys like Buehler who come back from an injury. He's missed a little bit under a month, didn't make any rehab starts in terms of any of the affiliated leagues, anything like that. Was throwing some side sessions, sim games, all those kinds of things. But Fenway Park is not a place where you want to screw around if you don't have your command. And the fact that this guy hasn't pitched in basically 4 weeks, I don't know what kind of command he's going to have tonight against a Mets offense that is really, really good. Also, you look at Buehler's numbers, the hard hit percentage is solid. You know, he's got a 4.28 ERA, that's fine, 3.87 expected ERA. But you look at the teams that he started against here. Right now, in weighted on base average, the teams he's faced rank 21st, 30th, 24th, 19th, 6th, and 27th. The Mets are a top 10 offense. So this is a big step up for Buehler, but also for Clay Holmes here. Hard hit percentage is on the rise. Ground ball rate is down. Velocity's kind of been fluctuating a little bit, and his arm angle is starting to drop. When I see an arm angle starting to drop for a pitcher that has had an innings increase, has maybe gone from relieving to starting, something like that, I'm concerned that maybe there's an injury situation going on with Holmes right now, or if nothing else, a little bit of a dead arm. So I don't think that he's particularly sharp. Taking on a Red Sox offense that at home is obviously very potent, with Fenway Park being the park that it is. So I took the over in this one. It went down to 8.5. I like it a lot at 8.5. I liked it at 9, but I definitely like it more at 8.5 here with some market movement this morning.
Should the Mets cut Juan Soto for not legging it out of the box?
Man, you talk about that situation being overblown, and then also the Karl Ravech comments on Sunday Night Baseball that he flies a private jet and doesn't fly with the team. And then Jeff Passan on Monday is like, yeah, that's absolutely not true. I don't know where this came from. It honestly, like, Juan Soto's numbers are pretty good,
dude,
especially the underlying numbers. And, like, people are complaining about him. I don't get it.
It's such a New York May baseball storyline. It's absolutely incredible.
Where does that come from, though, of him, like, having a private jet and, like, no.
I don't know. But also it's one of those things where it's like, okay, so if the guy's busting ass out of the batter's box and he blows out a hamstring or something on a routine ground ball, like, I would never want one of my players to do that. Like, if it's a 99%, out probability, I don't care if you don't run down the line. Now, if you hammer a ball that looks like it's going to be out and it winds up being a long single, that's a different story. But I don't care if you're not running out ground balls, especially at second base. It doesn't matter. Doesn't bother me.
They also still lost by 2, so him being stranded on third wouldn't have still gotten you where you needed to go when all was said and done. We're going to have to carry over this conversation to the next segment, but I am curious your thoughts on the Braves. Spencer Strider's making his season debut today, and I know JVT has some strong opinions about it, but we do have to hit this first break. Reminder, though, this article that we've been discussing, Adam breaking down the MLB best bets, those are available live right now on VSiN.com. We also have Wes Reynolds previewing the Charles Schwab Challenge coming up tomorrow, Jonathan Davis with his NHL Conference Finals Series preview, Greg Peterson with more MLB, Steve Makinen, NBA. We already mentioned JVT and Zach Cohen's articles on the Western and Eastern Conference Finals, respectively, in the NBA. There's so much up on the site right now. VSiN.com/subscribe. 14 months of VSiN Pro Access for just $199 right now when you use our promo code PRO. That's PRO. We're going to step aside. More money moves and best bets after this.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We're wrapping up this Tuesday edition of Money Moves live on VSiN, the sports betting network. Alongside JVT, Stormy Buonantony with you. Adam Burke live in studio with us as we close out the show today. Mentioned before the break, Spencer Strider back in action today for the Atlanta Braves. And I kept saying debut because it feels like it. He made his first start at the beginning of this year, coming back from injury, hurt his hamstring, so he has been out since. We haven't seen he and Ronald Acuna on the team available at the same time in more than a calendar year. Last April of 2024 was the last time that happened. This weekend, we could have the gang all together. So what do you make of the Braves' big picture right now? Do you think they dug themselves in too big of a hole at the beginning of the year, or with their talent coming back and them kind of finding form, do they look like the build of a playoff team to you?
I mean, I certainly expected them to be coming into the season. I mean, look, this is a team that is, top 10 in hard hit percentage, a team that's going to get into the top 10 in barrel percentage once a guy like Acuna gets back. I mean, Strider has to stay healthy, especially with the fact that, again, you talk about some of the guys, like I talked about Clay Holmes in the previous segment. Grant Holmes is a guy with an innings increase last year. Chris Sale staying healthy for the first time in like 7 years. Schwellenbach's a young guy. Smith Shawver, really good stuff, but another young guy. Like, if they can get 140-ish innings out of Strider the rest of the way, that's tremendously valuable for them. Not only because he's going to be good over that span, but also because he gives them a little bit more of a cushion in terms of, maybe somebody getting hurt, something like that. I don't think they've dug the hole too deep. I guess it's a very, very good offensive team that just has been maybe a little bit snake-bitten here to this point. But again, when you get a guy like Acuna back, that's a legit top 10 player in Major League Baseball. So I think they're going to be just fine. They still have a good bullpen. I think that, we're probably in a position here where you may, if you think the way that I do, you may want to invest in the Braves to win the East now, because if Strider looks really good tonight and Acuna comes back this weekend, that price is going to go down without question. So I'm a little bit worried about Strider tonight. I talked about this with Walker Buehler in the previous segment. I don't like guys that come off of an injury and haven't made a rehab start. Strider has not. That's concerning to me. But if he goes out there and throws, 5 innings, 1 run, something like that, you're going to have people starting to take a look at, Braves to make the playoffs, Braves to win the East, stuff like that.
So if let's roll with the assumption that you are correct, that the Braves find their way into to a seat at the table.
Right.
Who's not making it? Because this is a very crowded table right now, and there's a lot of chairs, there's not a lot of chairs for a lot of teams circling the table, if you will, if we're going with the musical chairs analogy. So which is the team that ultimately ends up on the outside looking in if the Braves are replacing somebody?
So I think it's the Mets. I definitely think I think that the Mets are a team where I just don't believe long-term in the pitching that they have. I don't think that their bullpen is particularly good. I already have some concerns with Holmes already, where I think maybe there are some injury indicators in there. Maybe David Peterson has figured it out. Maybe Griffin Canning can sustain this, but I just really don't think that, even when Sean Manaea comes back, I'm not a big Manaea guy. I didn't really expect a whole lot of him coming into the season. Frankie Montas is another guy who, he's fine, but there's nothing special about him. And the offense is good. The offense is deep, but there are some concerning points with the offense, I think, too, where Pete Alonso's not going to keep running a batting average on balls in play the way that he is. Soto will be just fine, but there are some guys down toward the bottom of the order that I don't know if their production is super sustainable. I think the Mets would be the team on the outside looking in because I think the Phillies, if healthy, have maybe the best 1 through 5 rotation in baseball. And I think the Braves definitely have an offense. Look, the Braves did what they had to do, right? They survived the first 50 games without Acuna and missing Strider for most of it, too. That's all you could ask for. This is a team that typically plays better throughout the summer, too. I mean, a few years ago when they won the World Series, they were 50-1 to win the World Series going into the month of August.
Sure.
They left August leading the division. So I think that they're the team that has the highest upside. I think the Phillies are the team with the highest floor. And I think the Mets are the team that would be on the outside looking in.
Plus 350 to miss the playoffs for the New York Mets.
Sheesh.
Now that said, I mean, they could still make the playoffs, right? I mean, the Giants, I don't know how much staying power there is for them, or the Diamondbacks.
Sure.
Like, I think the Padres will. So the Mets could still make it, but I think if you're looking at the 3 teams in the AL East, they would be the odd man out for me if there's 2 wildcard teams from the West.
Interesting conversation to be had, for sure. Let's look more at today's action. We got, in addition to MLB, the NBA and NHL conference finals beginning with their respective games. Best Bets today presented by GBank, the official bank of VSiN. Most credit cards treat sportsbooks and gaming transactions as cash advances. That's even when you put your own money on the card. GBank treats gaming transactions as purchases, so you're saving 3 to 5% on cash advance fees right there. Also with GBank, in addition to the 1% cashback rewards on sportsbook and gaming transactions, you also get 2% cash back on all other eligible purchases. Want more information? Get it and apply now at vsin.com/gbank. That's vsin.com/gbank. Anything in the association tonight with the Thunder getting this thing started?
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. Timberwolves plus 7.5 was the bet. We're now down to 7. I don't know if I'm going to be like running away with a great number here. Usually you see some buyback on these things. So if you like the Timberwolves, just hold out. You'll probably get 7.5 coming back by the time we get to tip off later today. So
are you going to be live betting these games, you think?
Yeah.
Do you have any live betting strategy that you come into it with, or is it just a case-by-case basis?
I think the general thought after what we just watched would be kind of waiting for those non-Shea Gilgeous-Alexander minutes and see how those hold up, right? Because, again, the whole premise and the whole storyline of what the Timberwolves, the Thunder were going through these first 2 rounds, but specifically against Denver, was the role players weren't really showing up. And so if that's going to be the case, the non-Shea minutes are going to be very interesting to watch, especially if they have a lead, if the lead is inflated somewhat, if the point spread in-game is inflated somewhat, because those would be some pretty good opportunities when Shea hits the bench to potentially play on Minnesota, if that's going to be the case. But the non-Shea minutes, for sure, I think are going to be the ones to monitor.
Total has continued to go up, by the way, from as low as 213.5 to now 217.5. It was 217 when we joined you on air earlier today. I mentioned earlier for the NHL Eastern Conference Final that's getting started tonight with the Florida Panthers and Carolina Hurricanes. I like the under 5.5. I do think that just in general for this series, it's going to be lower scoring. It's going to be tighter checking. So I like under 5.5. I also mentioned at the top of this hour, Brad Marchand to have an assist tonight. To have a point was around plus 115, but an assist specifically was a little over plus 200. And 9 of his 12 points in the playoffs so far have been assists. So that's the angle that I'm taking there. But my favorite bet of this game tonight is Sergei Bobrovsky over 25.5 saves. It's a little juiced, minus 130. But he looked dialed in games 4 through 7 of this past series, gave up just 4 goals on 92 shots the last 4 games combined. And what do we know about Carolina? Shot volume and dominating shot share is a huge part of their game. I think especially early in this game, given that they're coming off having all of that rest, they're going to be firing on Sergei Bobrovsky early on net, and he's still going to stop more often than not in this one. So 25.5 rather, feels like a little bit of a gift number for him, so I'm willing to lay the juice.
I mean, I like Carolina tonight, honestly. I like them minus the 125. It's a little bit of a favorite price here. But, I mean, look, for Florida, they dug themselves a hole in the first 2 games of the series against Toronto, had to win 4 out of 5 coming back. And the other thing here for Carolina, you talk about the shot share, and, they puck possession's a big thing. They've always been an analytics darling, which is why a lot of the modelers love them, and then they, fall short in the playoffs for one reason or another. This is a team right now. You get their high-danger shooting percentage at 5-on-5 in the playoffs, 6.9%, which is not nice at all. In fact, it is well below the next team, which was Dallas, at 11.59%. So Carolina's not cashing in on their high-danger shooting chances, and here they are still, having won both of their series in 5 games because of their defensive prowess. At some point, they're going to start cashing in some of those high-danger chances. So I don't know if it's going to happen in this series or not because Florida's such a good team, but there's some offensive positive regression coming for a team that's already 8-2 in the playoffs. So I like Carolina here tonight, especially being rested.
So while I do like the Panthers in the series, I like Carolina tonight as well, too. And I don't think this is a particularly unique thought, but should Carolina win today on home ice, like you and I obviously expect them to do, then you're going to get a better price on Florida for the series as well. So that's kind of one angle.
Well, you'll get them at plus money, right? I mean, they're minus 125 at DraftKings right now. They lose game one. That may very well flip. Maybe they're plus 125 or a little bit more than that. So, yeah, I think it's definitely something you want to take a look at. And that's the cool thing about these series prices, when you get, it's a little late in the daily winter sports playoffs now, but you can position yourself to get plus money on both sides and just kind of free roll it if you get everything to set up the way that you want it to, like we're talking about here, where you could take Carolina for the series now at a plus money price, and if they win, then you just take Florida for the series at a plus money price. You can kind of, scrape a little bit of profit that way.
Anything else you like tonight, JVT?
Yeah, Yankees over 4.5 team total minus 130. Excuse me.
It's because Trump's out of the country, right?
Very true. Budget Bill's not looking very good either so far. So I think Corbin might be a little rattled when he starts in the Bronx.
Distracted.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Best Bets, again, presented by G-Bank, the official bank of VSiN. Are you happy, Adam, that we were back on the Tuesday schedule today?
Yeah, I actually know what day it is.
Okay,
so
it was good. I was nervous. You were very upset with us last week, and I just want to make sure that you're happy. It's very important to me.
I just want to make sure that you're happy because apparently JVT doesn't make you very happy on air.
Stop looking at me, JVT.
Say, you good? In the break, you didn't even talk to us in the break. I was like, wow, it really bothered you.
Listen, I'm just very sensitive, going through a lot right now. No, this is fun. Appreciate you guys as always. Tomorrow, though, on the show, I'm going to make sure there is no eye contact with JVT because it just throws everything off. We're going to step aside. When we come back, it is not going to be us anymore. Prop Points coming up after this. Nick Whalen, Jeff Erickson, and they're going to have AJ Schultz on the show giving out his best bets in the NHL. You won't want to miss it.
This is your before and after story. Prepare for an incredible career in nursing. At Southeastern College, experience expert hands-on training. Learn real-world skills in our professional lab and simulated settings. And train for opportunities as a practical nurse, registered nurse, or career advancement with our RN to BSN program. At Southeastern College, your future is bright. Visit sac.edu to get started.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.